I want to talk about the difference of motivation and discipline. So try not to get too philosophical in these videos. However, it's a concept that has been recurring a lot in conversations we've been having lately, and so I wanted to at least share kind of our experience and framework with both. So the main differentiation of what we think of between motivation and discipline is that one of them relies a bit more on the feeling of having fun or enjoyment, and one of them relies more on just doing the things that need to be done. And so the idea of motivation could be defined by many people in many different ways, but oftentimes we hear it in the sense of, wish I was motivated to get up and run 5 miles, wish we were motivated to push the business in this direction, to do this thing. Whereas the idea of discipline is, I'm doing these things whether I like it or not because they need to be done, and the iterations will inevitably lead to a better quality outcome. And I think we've always said it on some of the weekly Q&As that we have. It's unreasonable to think you'll be good at anything without enough iterations, and it's equally as unreasonable to think that you won't be good at it after a certain amount of iterations. And so we always like to focus on discipline, whether it's in our business or when speaking to clients or whoever it may be, in the sense of doing the things, whether you like it or not, that need to be done, because after enough iterations, it will produce a good outcome. If you think of sales, the idea of making, whether it's sales calls, whether it's sending outbound emails, whether it's having discovery calls or strategy sessions with people, but the idea of having these sales communications, oftentimes motivation will be predicated on, are we getting good outcomes? Are we getting clients? Are we getting people to do what we want them to do? Whereas discipline, we kind of think of it from the perspective of, are you getting enough no's, right? So it puts a different framework in your mind to say, if you go out there and you get 100 no's when you're asking to sell something, or to sell a service, a good, to bring on clients for whatever it may be, you're going to learn an awful lot, right? Those no's usually come with explanations, comes with rationales. Enough no's will lead to yeses, and you will improve the process, you will improve the product, and you'll accomplish ultimately the goals that you're seeking out. And so we think of that framework, again, motivation being the idea of, well, I'll do it when I feel happy about it. Discipline being the idea that just go out there and get no's. That should be your goal. Check this quota of no's, and I can almost guarantee you that there will be a good situation that comes from it. So we see the same thing in business, and so when we think of it from a sales perspective, we also see it. And again, this isn't just us kind of pontificating or preaching from the soapbox about other people's businesses, but this is the same kind of thoughts that we see in our own experience and when we analyze our own company. From a sales perspective, that's one of it. From an innovation or improvement perspective, we say the same things. It's painful to incrementally improve things, particularly as things that already work, right? And so it's very easy to go from something that's lousy to something that's good, but there's an ocean in between good and excellent, good and elite, and it takes a lot of discipline, again, to iterate and improve something to get it from that good to excellent point. However, and we've seen this with tons of our clients, is when they get it to excellent, you're really in a league of your own in whatever the business is that you're involved with, because again, it's that pain that's necessary to go from good to great in a situation that a lot of people don't want to undertake, right? The phrase I've always heard is, when the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same, someone will change. Therefore, if something's in a lousy situation, there's a lot of pain being lousy, and so the pain to get to good is usually less. However, to get from good to great, you usually have to inverse that in the sense of taking on a lot of pain to get to that elite level of something where no one's going to judge you if you just stayed at good. But again, that's kind of that rarefied air that we all seek to be in with our respective businesses. And so lastly, and it kind of ties into that same innovation or improvement idea, the saying goes, perfection is the enemy of progress or profit, however you want to look at it. But by the same token, I think can be a complacency with processes sometimes where something works good enough, or as the famous fatal words of, this is how we've always done it, right? So the idea of retaining what was good historically, yet striving, pushing to constantly improve, to constantly optimize processes, to evolve the business in a way that combines kind of the historic tried and true with the new optimized processes, that's what leads to great results. And again, it's not fun. Whether it's our clients with our own business, it takes a lot of work, a lot of pain, a lot of fruitless labor where the outside world may say, hey, it seems like it was working pretty good. I don't know why you're fudging with the process, right? But it's that striving for or towards perfection, right, that ultimately, I think, separates the good situations from the elite situations. And I'll say that 25 times in this video, but it's an important concept to keep in mind. So in any event, the idea for today is kind of the distinction between motivation and discipline. Again, other people may kind of conflate these terms or think of them differently, and it's not to judge anyone else's characterization of the terms, but just the way, from our experience, we've always looked at it. We think of motivation as doing things when you want to do them, and discipline more on the spectrum of doing things because they have to be done. And ultimately, having that level of discipline and iterating those things and doing them enough leads to the feelings that create the motivation to further it. And so it does compound. So we think of kind of discipline leading to motivation, right? My mom used to say, when you picked up the phone, smile and say hello, because the action that you don't want to take will lead to the emotion that you want, and ultimately kind of create a self-reinforcing cycle. So we see that in business as well. So next videos, we'll get back to some of the nuts and bolts relative to M&A and capital. However, it's been a concept on our mind, and it's something we've been chatting about internally here, and certainly an experience from our years and years of doing this that we wanted to share. But I hope the week continues to go well. Keep pushing forward. God bless. See everyone next time.